Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us this afternoon for the NPrinting Advanced Training. Appreciate your time, and I'll look forward to delivering some interesting items in advance of the items we talked about yesterday if you attended yesterday's training. So without further ado, we'll just jump right in. Get right into the agenda here quickly. What we're going to talk about today, as you already know, is some advanced server configuration. Of course, we'll get into a deep dive about some important reports that you're very interested to see today, which include the ability to perform alerts based on conditional reporting. We're going to then build a number of several other advanced imprinting reports, including a multi-doc report. We'll also, during the course of the development of each report, we'll show you the reporting properties and formatting in the normal course of the training this afternoon. And finally, we're going to get into the on-demand demonstration as well as configuration of the on-demand object. So lots of good stuff for you this afternoon. And of course, as Kurt said a moment ago, we'll be answering questions. One set of questions we'll start answering at the end of the first hour, and we'll take a break there. And then at the end of the second hour, which is the end of the training this afternoon, we'll finish off the balance of the question. Just one note, these slides contain important tutorials that are going to be important for you, which are associated with the training this afternoon. So all the reports that we're going to be doing, including the conditional report in anticipating your answers, all those tutorials are going to be in the slides that you're seeing this afternoon. You don't need to take notes. These slides will be available to you via email later this week or early next week. And so no need to take any notes. All you need to do is sit back, listen, enjoy the show, and you'll also receive that recording along with that email later this week or next week as well. So without further ado, we'll continue on. Okay, jumping right in. One of the most important things that is often missed or is misconfigured is the imprinting server service account. So please keep in mind when you're setting up your imprinting environment, the imprinting service account must be dedicated to running the imprinting service. So this must not be shared. And so if you're asking yourself, can I use the QlikView account to run the imprinting service? And that answer is a definitive no. That is not supported. You will cause troubles for your imprinting deployment and potentially for your QlikView deployment. So it's really important not to try to share that QlikView service account with the imprinting service account. Doing so will cause a conflict, and your imprinting reports will fail, and you might even cause trouble for your QlikView deployment. So we want a dedicated imprinting server service account without any question. That account must be made a member of the local administrators group. The account must have full security permissions. This is another very important point. This account must have full security permission to access any imprinting NSQ, template, or QVW that might be installed locally or out on the net or accessed out on the network. So you should use an Active Directory domain user account when you're in a large environment using Active Directory to run the imprinting server service. It requires a dedicated QV license as well. So the imprinting service account should be assigned a user cal from the QlikView server. It should not be dynamically acquired. Okay? Dynamically acquired licenses can go away. And the danger of that with imprinting is, like any other QlikView desktop user, is that imprinting reports will not run because they cannot run their reports through a personal edition of QlikView desktop. So it must be an assigned cal from the QlikView server, not dynamically acquired from the QlikView server. It must be assigned explicitly. Let's talk about some of the advanced server configurations, so let's get right into that. I have my QlikView server here. And we'll bring that up for you. So over here, we have the service. Here's where you need to configure the service down here. In a stop condition, I'll just turn that off for a moment. Let's show you what happens. So the NSQ that we developed yesterday in the basic training would be added here. So any of the attributes created inside the NSQ would be added to this NPrinting files list. So you would add that NSQ here, like so. And in order to be able to do that first, you actually have to stop the service, so which we've already done, and you add your files here. You can also add folders to watch an entire folder of NSQs if you want, and of course you can remove. Here you can configure variables to this folder location as well. The next point in this part of the server is the fact that we can enable external requests to run NPrinting tasks. So if you have once you've created a task, you can actually create an XML file which can be copied into this folder location here, and that file contains information about the task. And when that file is dropped into the folder here, it's basically with an extension of .request. The file is processed with the task information, and that task is run automatically through an external. So if you have an external process creating this XML file and dropping that XML file into this folder, the .request file into this folder, that file will be processed, and the task associated with the information in the XML file will run the task that you want run. So you can run NPrinting tasks from an external request if you enable the external request option here. You need to add your logon account in the logon section for the NPrinting service account here. So you don't need to turn the service off for this, but you do need to actually stop the service and restart the service after you change or add the account for the first time. Startup type should be automatic in a production environment, and all three, you don't actually need all three green lights here in the service configuration status for this NPrinting service to work. You can actually do on-demand reports without an NSQ. If you have NSQs that contain schedules, then yes, you should have an NSQ added to the QlikView NPrinting files list here, and then click Apply, and then restart the service. Once that starts up, we'll move on to the next item here. So the next item is a monitoring tool, and you can see that I have one little tiny schedule in my little NSQ there, and the next time that is scheduled to run is 12:15 today. Sorry, 2015, which is today, May 21st, at 14:11. So that you can get either a calendar view or a grid view of the different schedules that might be contained in your NSQ. Some of the other options, always a good idea to have your advanced error management enabled. If you need a verbose report and the support team asks you, can you enable the advanced error management, they'll ask you to select this option. Some of the folder options, some of the report configuration you need to do are right here on the report configuration area. So you can define your output folder here, your default template folder, your temporary folder as well, and most importantly, your default QlikView server can be defined here. If you have multiple QlikView servers, probably a good idea not to put a default server here. I mean, it won't hurt, but you'll have to change the path in your NSQ manually if you're using a variable. So you can leave that blank, or you can choose to populate that value, and that value will appear as a variable inside when you're making a connection via QVP inside the NPrinting client designer. The legacy area you don't need to worry about. It's for NPrinting users that have come up from NPrinting earlier versions of NPrinting, so no need to worry about that area. You need to configure your email if you're planning to distribute reports through NPrinting distribution. So it's pretty straightforward here. Do not use Simple Mappy. Simple Mappy only works on the NPrinting client. SMTP is the option you need to use to be able to distribute NPrinting reports throughout the enterprise. So you need to select SMTP and just fill in the values. Log settings, just go ahead and create a log setting folder, select a path to the log files folder, and give the service log a name that differentiates it from the NPrinting designer. So I usually use NPrinting SBC or SBCS. You can send notification alerts to the administrator of NPrinting. So you can use a sender email address here. You can identify that as your contact for the administrator of NPrinting or whoever needs to be, and then you can send alerts to specific recipients as well. So to and BCC, CC and BCC individual recipients. Testing settings are for the NPrinting client designer, so we don't need to worry about that here. But you should configure this on the NPrinting designer. This allows you to run tests of your tasks that you'd rather not run in a production environment. So if you have created a bunch of tasks and you need to test those tasks, you can actually test the task without delivering email to the specific recipient. If you enable the path, if you select the output path and email address are typically blank, so you need to select an output path and define an email address that the report needs to go to determine the success or failure of your task. Include recipient's email in the message body is important. Just selecting this checkbox will show you in the message from the task test who would have received the report in the event that the task was run normally through the NPrinting server service. And finally, resources similar to the NPrinting designer. Go online to find, go to QlikView Online, go on QlikView NPrinting Online, and you can find out about the version here. And this is your activation center where you can change, update, or deactivate your license. So that is a very important module in our training this afternoon. Those are very important points. There's also tutorials and information in the slides that you'll have access to, the external tasks that I talked about, and also best practices for NPrinting server and client. Again, you'll have an opportunity to view those offline, but these slides will be available to you, and these links are on the World Wide Web for your pleasure, for your viewing pleasure. Also, some server configuration information and tutorials also in the slides, so that'll be very useful for you. Please remember that the troubleshooting document here is also a configuration document, so you want to refer to this document for sure after you've set up and configured your NPrinting environment. This document ensures that you follow many of the steps required in configuration, and so that you have a thoroughly configured NPrinting environment. So keep that one in mind, very important, the troubleshooting document. Okay, well, we're ready to start building some reports, and we're going to actually show you how to use a condition to send out an office report based on existing data conditions within a specific QBW. So the conditions are applied to reports, but are tested for every recipient. So what that means is if you have one or more conditions, those conditions are tested for every recipient. Now, if any of the conditions fail, the conditions that will prevent the report from going out. So basically, all conditions must be true for the report to be sent. So conditions, again, are tested after all task, recipient, and report filters have been applied for each NPrinting task, for each NPrinting recipient, and then for each report inside the task. So syntax is very, very important when you're creating your conditions. Keep that in mind, or else if you think if you're having trouble with your condition and you're wondering what's happening, you probably want to go back and review the condition and check the syntax to make sure that it's accurate. So they make sure the syntax and case are correct, or the condition will be false. So we're going to show you an example of a chart based on a chart condition based on a chart and a variable. So we're going to show you how a condition on salesmen who've made over $250,000. So we have 3 people in this chart, and thus the chart has data. Keep that in mind when we go back into setting up the condition. So And finally, the other condition is, has QVW been reloaded? Okay, so let's go right into the NPrinting client, and let's show you how that works. So over here, we have a little report based on this particular, let's just move out of here, and we'll find the chart. Salesman. Here we go. And the chart is right over here. So we have the salesman with sales over $250,000. So if we look inside the chart and we look at the expression, we have a condition here, a formula, pardon me, which provides data in that chart based on this particular formula. So with that formula, we are able to get this little chart here, which has these three salespeople with data over $250,000. So this chart has values for these three salespeople. Now, let's go into NPrinting and let's look at our condition test. Actually, let's go right into our task. I've already prepared a task with this information to save a bit of time because we have a lot to cover this afternoon. So let's go into the condition task, we'll look at our reports, and we'll look at our Excel condition test report. So let's open that up. And so we have already created, basically we've created a simple report with chart 264, right? So over here, properties. You see that this is chart 264, and this is where we're building the condition from, that particular chart. So we move this data onto the report, and we save and close. Again, previewing the report does not include the condition. The condition must be applied at the report over here under the conditions item, right? And you add the conditions over here, which I've already created, but let's just show you how they look. So let's open up the condition for chart has values. Okay? So in order to access that, you click on conditions, you click new, and you start building your condition. In this case, we've already created a condition, so we can actually just add it in. So in this case, we want to say chart 264 down here. Well, first of all, you see here that this connection, you have to make the connection to the sales demo QVW. Then you can start building your condition. So once you have made the connection to the QVW to the source connection sales demo, you can begin creating your condition. You need to go in and select the chart, which we've done already, chart 264, right? And we need to say either has values or is empty. In this case, we're saying has values because we want to produce the data if that chart has values. In this case, we know that chart 264 has values, so we're going to use that chart. Some of the other options in here while we're on this particular condition, we'll just show you that you can use variables equal to a specific value or a value formula you can type in here, and in which case if you use a formula, calculate a value, you need to click the calculate button. So some of the operators are is equal to, not equal to, greater than, less than, and equal to, and that sort of thing. Pretty standard stuff. Now you can select a variable from QlikView to perform your condition as well. All right? So in this case, we'll continue on. We'll show you the other variable, the other condition that we created as well shortly. So in this case, we have this condition contains chart 264, and that chart should have values if you want the condition to be met. Save and close. Let's look at our other condition. So in this case, we have a variable called isQVReloaded. So you've created a variable in QlikView for isQVReloaded, and in this case, if you want QVReload to fail, you click select any value other than 0. In this case, we want to test the test to fail, so I've added a 1 here. Let's go ahead, save and close on this, and save and close. And let's look at some of our other task components here. So let's look. We have 2 recipients. We have Elvis Presley and Helen Brolin. Each recipient has a recipient filter. Okay, so Helen Brolin, if the condition is met for Helen Brolin, should receive a report with her specific data only. Okay, same with Elvis Presley. If Elvis Presley should receive a report, the only data he should be able to see, if both conditions are met on his recipient, he should receive a report for Elvis Presley only. And the reports should be delivered. In this case, we're not delivering by email. We're just delivering to recipient folders. Those reports, if the conditions pass, should be delivered to their respective folders only. That's what we've defined for this particular task. You can also deliver to these other locations as well. You can send it to a main task output folder and some of these other options, including the custom folder option, which we showed you yesterday. And these are some of the delivery option locations as well. But we're going to be sending it to a recipient folder, and we'll save and close on that. And let's go ahead and run this and see what it looks like. Right, so the condition for is QV reloaded has not been met. So, and you can see here that nothing else is done for this test. So the start of applying filters, right? And so the filters are applied at the recipient level, and once the condition is tested, no other conditions are tested because the first condition was not met. There's no point in testing any more conditions. So we go on to the next recipient. Apply filter, filtered value, start condition test. We do the condition test, we find it fails. So neither recipient gets a report because the QVW was not reloaded, and in this case, no other conditions were tested because the first condition was not met. Now let's do a little quick switch. Let's change one of the conditions. Let's make the value equal 0 so that the condition is valid. Save the NSQ. Let's go back and run the task. Let's see the difference. So it takes a second process, not too long. Okay, so here we go again. Apply filter Helen Brolin. Apply some of the other, so we're looking at the conditions now. So the filters are applied, then now the conditions are applied. Look at this. So now we have both conditions are met, which means, and we only have 2 conditions, so she passes. Producing report, and you can see the report is created, begins to be created, and testing. So Helen will get a report. However, Elvis still, although QV is reloaded as met, he has no values in chart 264, which means he didn't make over $250,000. So we only have 1 report that should be distributed to Helen Brolin in the Helen Brolin folder. So let's have a look in there. See, NPrinting partner training, advanced partner training, personal folders. Now we have 2 folders, but let's have a look inside. There's nothing for Elvis. Let's look in Helen, and here's a report for Helen. And because Helen's recipient was filtered for Helen Brolin data, all we're going to see here is what? A report distributed to Helen Brolin's folder with Helen Brolin's data, sales over $264,000. And that's how you can use an NPrinting condition to generate reports and distribute reports based on conditions. Okay, let's get on to the next report. So we're going to create an Excel report with subtotals and grand totals. This question was asked yesterday, and so we'll go ahead and do that now. So click on Reports, Reports module, click up here on Excel Reports because we want to use the Excel template editor. Now click Excel Reports. So subtotals and grand totals. Okay, so we're going to create a new report. Make the template editor large. And we're going to add objects. Chart 184. Let's bring that in. Okay, so now, just to point out one thing, we don't actually want to use a table. We want to use a level in this case because we're going to do a calculated column today. Didn't get a chance to do that yesterday, but we'll do that today for you. So let's use a calculated column. And let's use levels to do this report. 184, top 25 products. Let's drag that in. And let's do this a little differently. Let's bring in the data first. Grab the fields that you want to report on. Okay, make them wide. And let's see, do we want gross percentage profit? No, we'll take that out for today's demo, and we'll create a calculated column over here called cost of goods sold. Okay, and over here, product. Call this products, sales, gross profit, and let's just move this up one, and you'll see why in a moment. Again, you can format, so enable the Microsoft toolbar over here. You can bold it, center it, give it some fill that you might like to have, format it the way you like to see it, and let's go ahead and drag the opening and closing tags. Okay, and let's just do a quick let's save this off first. So again, it's important to save your work fairly quickly initially. I'm going to just go all the way out, save and close, and save the NSQ. So let's go back in to our report, edit it, and let's just do a quick preview to test our report. Now, we haven't done the calculated column yet, but let's just go ahead and run a quick test. Okay. All right. So everything looks good. Everything's pretty raw. We're just getting going, but we're going to show you some good stuff here shortly. Okay. Let's see. And enable the toolbar again. And let's do left align for that. Good. Okay. We want to now show you, it's very simple. I mean, all you need to do is use a level, and you can just start doing the calculation, the formula. So in this case, it's D7 minus E7, and click equal. All right. And what do we have now? We have do a quick little run, and we have a cost of goods column. So you can use NPrinting and leverage Microsoft Excel formulas to produce a calculated column. Okay, so next, keep going. And let's go ahead and add a few levels now. Let's start with country. We're going to work with country and year. We'll bring in the country level, and we might as well bring in the year level as well. Click enter. Go ahead and double click the year level. Bring it in. And let's just, to do this absolutely accurately, we're just going to add a few columns in here just to make sure everything's clear. Okay. So over here, we'll add the country level. And make sure there's room between the country and the year. We're just going to add another row in between here. Okay. So as we did yesterday, what we want to do is sum. We want to do a sum. And how do we do a sum again? We want to sum everything between the tags. Click Enter. And we want to again do a sum everything between the first set of tags and click Enter. Okay. Also, we want to be able to have our own formats for total sales and gross profit at the very least. And why not? Also, we want our own formats for the product field, so that we can bold that over here. I'm going to do our formats for dollars. And over here, we want to drag the field value like so down and do a quick preview. Now, I have to redo that cost of goods sold side. I'm going to do a different formula for the total cost of goods sold. But anyway, we'll let that finish. So now we have a report, subtotals, right, for every, oh, that worked anyway, good. Perfect, right, because we have the formula in there already, perfect. So that cost of goods worked just fine, our calculated column and totals worked just fine. Okay. So what about subtotals for each country in this case? So let's go ahead a little further, cancel, close it off, and we'll do some subtotals here. So let's drag in the country here, populate it there. We'll widen this out a bit in case your country has a long name, bold, and maybe, you know, we can just leave this just the way it is there. Let's just drag this up here actually and make this a little wider again. And let's increase the font size a bit. Okay, good. So let's do a subtotal for country sales right here. So again, we apply click your cursor on the target cell and do your sum function again over here. Select everything between the country tags and click Enter. Do the same thing for the gross profit. Sum everything between the country tags. Click Enter. And of course, we can drag the formula for cost of goods sold down here as well. And click Enter. Okay. So let's go ahead and format these fields with the dollars. And we should have a sum. So let's go sales. Let's do equals. Let's do a bit of concatenation and some equals sales. It has to be a double quote in colon, close the quote, do an ampersand. Now, click up here on country, and you'll have the country value concatenated in here. And so one more thing we have to do is, since we're going over the same summing the second time, can you imagine what we need to do here? If you said divide by 2, you would be correct. So we need to do that here as well. Divide by 2. And Enter. And let's go ahead and let's save this off. Let's speed up our report by adding a filter. Do we have any filters for country? No. So let's create a new country filter. And let's just create a 5-country filter. Select the country, dimension, double click, click Add Values. And let's just, for the sake of convenience, pick the first 5 countries. And now we have a 5-country filter on this particular report. Save and close. And when we go to preview that, and again, you can watch the report being generated if you want. Right, now you have sales subtotals, and at the bottom here, we should have a subtotal of sales and the value didn't get populated. I'll have to check my syntax there. I think I didn't close something off. Okay, so you do have subtotal sales for um, for each country and the subtotal down here. So I'll just check my syntax quickly on that report, and that will fix that up. Okay, so sales, country. Okay, there we go. And okay, so right, so I just had this at the wrong place. Okay, so let's re-enable the toolbar and let's go ahead and bold that. And so this is actually your sales in each country, subtotal, and then if we add one more level here, let's add the year level right up here. Let's drag that down here, and we can call this, and just bring in the year dimension over here, right up here. And if you want to steal the formatting for country, you can do that. Use the format painter, just paint it over the year dimension. And over here, we can say sales in year. And we'll have to type it out again. Equal sales in, close it, and %. Select the year value in this case. Click enter, and we have sales in year. So let's do a little bit of formatting around this. Let's grab the formatting for this. We'll paint it onto this. And let's do some background fill to highlight the green dollars, which is good. Same thing over here. And fill. Check our formulas. Everything looks good. And we're ready to do subtotal for sales in country and sales in year now. So that's building. Okay, so here we go. Here's a nicer, more effective representation of what we're trying to show you here. So here you have sales in Argentina with the proper concatenation. Okay, and 2015, 2014, and oh, interesting, it's going the other way today. Okay, good stuff. So in any case, we're showing you the different years for the sales, sales by country, sales by year, subtotal by country, and total sales in a specific year. And we also have, let's see, sales, so sales by country and sales for an entire year for all 5 countries. Okay, let's do the final report, the final subtotal. It's very simple. We're practically there now. See if we can insert to make a little bit of a separation here. 3, 11, just verify everything. Good. 11, good. Okay, so that's all right. Let's go ahead and remove some of this formatting quickly. Okay, so let's do the final sum. Let's put the final sum down here. Just call this grand total for all years, 5 countries. Enter. You want to bold that. So let's just put in the third. We're doing a little final sum. And you probably have already figured it out, but you need to just click on the first tag, the imprinting tag, the year level tag, and everything. You want to select everything between the year tags. Right? Click enter. To the target cell, same thing for the gross profit. Sum everything between the year levels. Ensure you get all the information, and click enter to sum to the target cell. And again, you want to drag the formula down to the year grand totals. We could have copied the formula down here, but it doesn't matter. You can drag it down. And just actually, let's actually undo that and copy the formula. So we'll just copy and do a direct paste. should contain the formula. Yes, it does, and we're good. So one final format here. We'll just copy the format painter and paint that in, and we're good to go. Save the template, and you're ready to preview. Of course, if you like watching it get processed, just pop the QlikView desktop open, and you can away you go. All right, let's open that up. Now we have some nicer separation between the different countries. Right, sales in Canada, sales for all of 2015. Argentina, same thing. Sales in Australia. So everything looks good. Go down to the bottom here, and we have the sales for 2013. The order's a bit reversed, but you get the picture. And we have total sales for 5 countries at the very bottom. If you want to get a little fancier, you want to leverage. If you want to leverage the Microsoft Office a bit more, for example, if you want to use conditional formatting, go ahead and select the 2 cells, and the cells just So select select the NPrinting tags that you want to do some conditional formatting on. And well, I'll just do one at a time. I'll do different formatting types. So let's use data bars, gradient fill over here for the sales. Let's use color scales for the second column. So you can use conditional formatting as well if you like, leveraging on Microsoft Office. Let's go ahead and preview that, have a quick look. That finish up, and away we go. Okay, so now we have a more complete report. Data bars on the left using Microsoft Office, and solid bars on the right. And that's your NPrinting, your QlikView NPrinting totals and grand totals report using levels. Okay. I hadn't mentioned it yet, but you also will have access to this repository that we're building today. So have no fear, you'll be able to play with this and reverse engineer it and work with it also as a download when you receive the email that we'll be sending out later this week or next week. Okay, so our next report, we're going to get into a multi-doc report. So in order to do a multi-doc report, what do we really need to do here? Well, we have to have multiple documents. So right now we have a single QVW. Let's go ahead and add a second connection. QV documents, let's go into our QVWs folder, and let's grab the second document. Okay, and again, like we talked about yesterday, it's always good practice to name the connection as the same name that you've given to the QVW, so you know which QVW you're connected to naturally. Okay? So let's go ahead and save and close that. Close. Allow the objects to compile. There they are. Great, and save the NSQ. Top left or File Save. And let's go ahead and start building a report. So we'll build an Excel report. And we'll go ahead and see multi-doc. Call it multi-doc. Create a new template. And we'll use images in this case. We're going to show you how to size images as well with today with while we do this multi-doc demonstration. So this will kill 2 birds with 1 stone, as it were. So let's go ahead and grab chart 187 maybe from. Now this is where the multi-doc comes in. So let's just back up. So right-click on images, add objects, and over here on the connection, you notice now that there's 2 that the drop-down is now enabled. It was not yesterday. It's now enabled because we have added a second QVW. So now you can pick objects from 2 different QVWs, which is essentially what multi-doc is. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll pick chart 187, image 187. We'll drag it. onto our template. And let's go ahead and grab a second image from Sales Compass. And I'm going to use the chart 351. It's called the Sales Pipeline. Right. So over here, and this is the Sales Pipeline chart. Good. So let's drag that in. And you have to be aware of the size of your charts when you drag them in so they don't overlap each other. So NPrinting only expands vertically, does not expand horizontally. So you need to position these correctly. Now, one of the nice features that we have with NPrinting is the ability to size your images. So we'll talk about image sizing now briefly, since we're working with images. So what you can do is you can check the stretch option, and these are pixels, by the way. Select the stretch option and type 600 and 600. Keep in mind you have to click the enter button to accept that change, or else it won't work. So click 600 max height, max width, click enter on both occasions, select stretch, and your image generation will occur. Now we're not quite done, so let's just save the template before we produce the report. Save the template in our template folder location, and printing files in this case. Oh, sorry, that's not the templates folder. Here you go, templates. Save it. Save and close. So there's one more step we have to take before we complete that multi-doc report. So let's go back into sources. What we have to do is create a linked field between those two documents. Okay? Let's go ahead and create a linked field. Right? And let's call this linked field dash year. Let's go ahead and add the year value. Oh, I'm sorry, we're going to do country, pardon me. Let's do the country. No, then we are going to do year. Yes, it is year, sorry. Okay, year. Let's grab year. Go add again and select the Sales Compass list. Type year. And we know that the corresponding dimension in the Sales Compass document is forecast year. Okay? So what we have here is the option to keep matching values only or to keep all values. Okay? So the association is quite simple. It's either keep matching values only or keep all values. There's no right join, left join, center join, whatever. These are the choices you have. The association is made in QlikView for you. So we have now connected two fields, and we've created a single link field on year with these two fields from two different QlikWs. And you notice the connections for each field are listed here. Save. Let's go back. Let's save the NSQ as well, accept their changes, save our changes, and let's go to our multi-doc report, and let's edit. Good. All right. So now we want to do a yearly report on all the years for matching. I believe we used matching values. So let's go ahead and add page to current sheet. Let's look at our linked field year. Whoop. I saw it there. And select the linked field year. Expand. And we don't need to put the year value in here because we already have it down here. You can if you like. I'm just going to leave it out, and we can go ahead and preview. So what we have now is one set of matching values for the year 2013 only. So that's why we're only getting one set of results here. So if we had matching values for several years, we would see those results in separate sheets. In this case, we have matching values for 1 year only. So that's how to create a linked field report, a multi-doc report using linked fields. Fairly straightforward. And I'm going to save and close on that. And let's move to a couple other reports, top ranks. Let's do quickly a top ranks report. Top ranks. And click new. And let's go ahead and do tables. And let's do 184. Okay, tables, and we'll drag in some fields. Now, what is top ranks? It basically allows you to do like a top 5, top 10. We know that chart 25, chart 184 contains the top 25 objects, but we only want to do, we only don't want to do the first 5 rows. So what we want to do is use custom rows, type 1 to 5, remove expand the range, and of course you can do all your formatting if you prefer. I'm not going to do that. Let's save off our report here. Save, and let's go ahead and preview. And fairly straightforward, we have a top ranks report. So just like so. We haven't removed keep source formats or anything like that. So you're seeing these all of these items here. So if we take let's see here, if we take keep source formats off, of course you can do your formatting as before. And oops, wrong one. And percent, and of course sold. Good. And preview that. Fairly straightforward. So there's your top ranks. Even though the NPrinting chart 184, sorry, the QlikView chart 184 has 25 top 25 products, you're able to create an NPrinting report using just the top 5. That's your top ranks. So we'll save that off for you. And we'll go on to the next report. And we'll do a cell-by-cell report. This one's a little more time intensive because, as I mentioned, it's cell by cell. But there's some important value around being able to use a cell by cell report. So meaning if you need to put cells literally in a specific position on your NPrinting report, you're able to do that. So I'm going to just do a very simple cell by cell report just to demonstrate how that works. So let's go ahead and add chart 184 again. Oops, sorry, let's remove that. We're not adding a table. We need to go to the add cells. So right click on cells, click add cells, and go ahead and grab your object that you want to report on, 184 in this case. Okay, and you want to do top, so the bottom row is row 1 is 0, and the third row is row 3. So we want to basically just select 0 to 3, and same thing left column to right. Now we'll just select 0 to 3, and let's go ahead and we'll just leave the source formats in, and all you do is you start dragging. I'm going to drag everything in twice. Let's just widen this up a bit so it makes more sense. Okay. Start trying and continue dragging. Luckily, you only have to do this once, but once you do have everything in place, you don't have to do it anymore, unless you make changes that you want to. 2, 3, and 4. I guess I could have used a smaller set of data, but in any case, it doesn't matter. So now, let's say we want to reverse the axis. Again, this is a very simple example. I mean, this is just a very basic example of how you can shift your cells around. That gives you a good idea of how to use this type of reporting tool. Right. And almost there. Oops, I just overwrote. Let's do it again. And last one. Okay, and we're ready. Well, let's save the template first. I always like to save the template. And go ahead and preview that and see what we have here. Right? So basically, you have reversed your poles, as it were, or your X and Y axes. So this is basically the same order as you would see it in the inside of the QlikView desktop here. And over here, you just basically have put the column headers on the Y-axis, and you put your data and your data on the horizontal. So everything's simply reversed, X, Y with the Y, X. But you can basically, it does demonstrate in a powerful way that you can move this data. You can put those fields wherever you want to on the report. So if you have a financial report or this type of thing where you need to specify specific locations on a report, this is the tool to do that with. And save and close. Save and close again. And we'll go, let's do something a little different. Let's get out of the Microsoft template editor for a minute here. And actually, just before we go on to the next report, we're going to be doing an HTML report. Take an opportunity now. It's been an hour to field some of your questions. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the question bar here and start answering some of these questions. So if you bear with me, I'm going to have a sip of water, and away we go.
Yeah, and Frank, while you're doing that, I'll just remind everyone that the Q&A panel, if you have any questions as we go along here, is under the tab at the top of the screen. Put your mouse on the tab, it'll drop down, and you'll find the arrow over on the right-hand side. And inside that arrow is the Q&A panel. A little bit complicated, but once you're there, just enter your questions into the rectangular space, click on Submit, and we'll be able to pick those up.
Thanks, Kurt. So in answer, we only have a couple of questions. Okay. Let's start with the NPrinting server should be run on a different server than the QV server, or it can be run on the same server or on a different server. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. NPrinting only requires a single gig of RAM to run, so very low overhead. NPrinting is just pushing commands, API commands to the QlikView desktop. So it's really it's really not important where you put it. Unless you have some kind of policy about having two different server types on the same computer, you can't actually put NPrinting server on a different location than the QlikView server. Absolutely. There's no requirement to have them in the same place. Is there something available for NPrinting similar to the QlikView governance dashboard that provides metadata about jobs run? If not, is there a version of the QlikView governance dashboard that includes an NPrinting module? I've seen a couple guys working on, so the first answer is no. Unfortunately, we don't have metadata about it. However, you can view, there are logs that can be delivered to your QlikView administrator that contain the results of your tasks that are run. I've seen one of our guys just build, when I was on one of our training sessions in Amsterdam, one guy built a governance dashboard really quickly. So yeah, I mean, we don't have anything specific, but you can build something, some sort of governance dashboard using QlikView. In fact, we don't have anything specific, but I don't think it's too difficult to build. You just simply need to use the log files as your data source, and reload based on different log files that have been generated overnight. So. Yeah, so we don't have a dashboard, but and nothing that's included in NPrinting, unfortunately, at this point. Good question, though. Thanks for your question. Any other questions?
Nothing further at this point.
Okay, super. Let's continue on then. So as I promised, I was going to build you an HTML report. So let's get right into that. In this case, you can use pre-built report templates, in which case I have a pre-built report template that I'm going to use that has style sheet information in it. So I'm going to use that. So if you know your imprinting, if you know your HTML code, you could build, as you can see here, this one has predefined, information here. So let's use this. I mean, if you have an HTML department type thing, they can build this kind of stuff for you. But you got to use, basically, you have to make sure your table information is correct. And in order to populate your table information correctly, you simply need to add your QlikView object. In this case, it's again chart 184. Over here, you have your headers, your column headers, and down here you have your references, your variable references to the data inside the QlikView, inside the QlikView list information here. So I've already moved this information over, but if you're interested, you can type your column headers in here the way you want them to appear, and you simply need to drag in your data fields here. So let's show you what that looks like if it's empty. Okay, so over here, just drag that in between the tags, and away you go. Okay, so you just repeat that. So you type in, again, you type in your column headers here, title header, and title data. I suppose that's what the TD and the TH mean. In any case, that's the format you need to use. Again, you can use your style sheets, and now when you go to preview that, let's just preview. Okay, so now you can see that we used, here's chart 184. It's got, why does it have two headers in here? Well, that's easy enough to solve because we haven't actually removed from the top level chart here. Let's just open this up, make this a little wider. And we need to go ahead and not show headers because we're using our own headers. We just want to hide the headers in this case. So preview again quickly. And now you can see that that second set of headers are gone. But we don't have any formats here. So what can we do about that? So let's go into okay. Let's go into the total sales. Let's remove keep source formats, and you can see here what appears. So you do your own formats, dollar. And so if you know the format you want to use, you can use the format tool. And if I got that right, copy. I'm just going to copy that out. And let's preview. So now we have dollar formatting over here under total sales. So let's cheat a bit and borrow that same text, and let's put it in the gross profit field. So remove keep source format and just paste that same code. Click enter to accept the change, and why don't remove keep source formats for all the fields we're using. And gross profit, I think we have gross profit percent. And remove it just right at the top. In fact, that'll remove it for all of them. Okay, super. Go ahead and preview. Okay, now we have our own formats. We have our dollars. I didn't put a percentage in here. Of course, we can do that as well. You just need to type the format for your gross percentage in the format column, and away you go. So that's basically it. That's how to build a slightly more complicated HTML report. Again, HTML reports can be embedded with your imprinting report tasks. So highly encourage you to use HTML reports if you want to deliver content directly to somebody's inbox. Save and close, save and close. And next on our agenda is a PowerPoint with the cycled multiple dimensions. So let's go ahead and create one of those. All right, let's go over to PowerPoint ports. Let's go ahead and click the PowerPoint template. Let's go ahead and select our blank template and edit that. Let's go ahead and start adding some objects in here. But first of all, we're going to add a few more slides here. Okay. Now let's add a fourth slide. And let's do a formula. Sales. And we did this formula yesterday. We're going to do it again. Text, money, sum, sales. Oops, wrong way. Money, format, equals. And close it off one more time. Click enter, click OK. And over here, you can just, I don't know, if you want to do my annual report. Over here, you want to add a couple of objects. Let's do some images. What can we pick? Let's take 186. And let's do 18. So we have 186 and say 187. Okay. And maybe we want a table in our report as well. Maybe 184 on the second sheet. So now we want to apply multiple dimensions on these two sheets only. Okay. So let's grab a table box. I know that 04 has a country and year, two different dimensions that we want to apply to these two slides. So click on here. Let's remove that one more time. So we'll want to select the first slide of the two slides that you want to apply the dimensions to. And then you want to go into the page, add to the current sheet. Go ahead and find table 4, which contains the country and year values. Click on the table object here and select the slides that you want these two dimensions to be applied to. So you want to select slide 2-3. Very important here to click enter to accept that change. If you don't click enter at that point, it very likely will not work. Okay, so let's start by dragging in some of the values here. Just bring that in one more time. Okay, that's better. And you can see that the alignment tools for PowerPoint are in play here. So you can use those to align your data as well. Okay, great. So, and one more thing before we continue. Let's just drag these up here. We don't need those here. And we can actually copy these and paste them, or we can redrag them. It doesn't matter. Okay, into the second slide. Let's start bringing in our charts. Let's go back to the second slide, and we'll put our images on the first slide. And maybe we'll want, sorry, put the images on the second slide, and maybe we want the table on the first slide. Sorry, I'm going to actually grab an image for the table. I'm not going to use the data. Okay, so let's go grab one more image and do 184. And let's just drag that over onto the first slide here. Okay, I'm going to just cut this box out and move it to the first slide. And over here will be our executive summary, where we have total sales for all countries. We can write that, all country. Actually, we'll do 5 country sales to speed up the report. Okay. So over here, since we have 2 dimensions that we're filtering on, we can also apply a sales value for country and year for the specific country and year. So we can also drag that in here, and we can drag it also here as well. So we're almost ready to run this report. I want to save it, give it a appropriate name, especially if you're using a template. You want to rename the template to something specific to your report. So in this case, PowerPoint report with multiple dimensions. Save your template, and we're ready to preview. So you can watch the preview. You can watch NPrinting process through the QlikView desktop, and you can see year and country right out here in the current selections box. So it's going to take a minute because I actually didn't apply the 5 country filter. So it's going to go through all 12 countries for each year. So that one's going to take a minute to generate. Sorry about that. So while that's generating, you might want to add some questions to the question box that you're thinking of right now. And we're going to be addressing those in about 30 to 45 minutes. So if you have a moment, take a moment while this report is generating for all 12 countries and all 3 years. Just type those questions in the question box, and maybe I can answer some of those for you. It's going to take about another minute here. So let's have a look. Can we have a data folder, subfolder under each recipient subfolders to store multiple days of reports for each recipient and a different date subfolder? Unfortunately not, but you can use the date dynamic naming value to store those reports. So the folders will, the output will get stored to the same folder with a different date value if you use the date value in the dynamic naming process. Okay, so our report is done. You can see here, very simple, didn't get too complicated, but for Argentina in 2013, it's $618 and down the line. So you'll see that, and it's cycling for all 3 years, Brazil, Canada, and it's given you the sales value. Now, if we go all the way to the end, on our final sheet, we have we have total sales for all. Well, in this case, we were actually getting all sales for all countries because we're not filtering on the sum of all those countries. We're actually, sorry, we didn't do a 5 country sales. We did sales for all 12 countries because I didn't add the filter, as you can see. So you can ignore the 5 country sales. It's actually for all 12 countries, which is 1.717288. So that's how to do a multiple dimension PowerPoint report with NPrinting. So I'll just go ahead and make that change now because you'll be getting this, and save and close that. And okay, so next up we're going to build a QlikView chart with QV data. Save your NSQ often, and let's go ahead into our reports. Excel reports. We'll create a new report, and we'll call this one Excel chart with QV data. Save and close. We need to, of course, add a new template. Choose tables, right-click on tables, click Add Object. Good old trusty 184. Expand the template editor to increase your workspace. And let's bring in, I'm holding the Control button down, by the way, on the keyboard and selecting specific values. I'm going to drag then these 3 fields into our template. All right, so we can start working with that. Open the Microsoft toolbar, and let's go ahead and insert a chart. Okay, let's select a 2-dimensional chart, and go ahead and position that chart down below the data here. Of course, you can make this chart larger or smaller. That's your preference. Click on the chart to enable the design tools. Let's go to Select Data, remove the defaults, and start manually adding your ranges. Let's go select range. Sorry, let's select the series name first for the first series. Okay, so let's click total sales, click out, click back here. Sorry about that. Do that again. Cancel. All right, click add. Click on total sales. Come back out. Total sales should appear there. Now let's do the range. Select the cell and the NPrinting cell and the cell just beneath the NPrinting cell. Click back out, and you should have a value of 0 here. Click OK, and let's add the second series. Gross profit. Click out. Click back in, and let's now add the series values. Click gross profit in the cell directly beneath. Click out. The series value should equal 0. Click OK. So we have our series set up now. Let's go ahead and configure the horizontal axis. So let's do the range. Select the product name and the cell just beneath it. Click out. Click all the way out. And you should have your horizontal axis is now set up. And it should look like this with the tags around it. Click OK. Almost there. Now you can do a little bit of formatting inside the chart if you like. Format to your heart's content. In this case, let's go back home to the Home tab, and let's just fix the alignment of the horizontal axis here. So let's just do a 90-degree or 45-degree angle here. 45-degree angle on the product name, and let's do some formatting on total sales. Let's remove the keep source formats here, and gross profit, and let's add our own formatting for dollars. You can just see how the dollar sign appeared here on the left. Save the template, save, and let's go ahead and preview that now. So when we open this up, we can see that NPrinting is created a Microsoft chart using QV data. So you can expand the chart, it's dynamic, or you can reduce it also, and you can see how the values on the bottom are tightened up as well. So the smaller you make it, the fewer values will show up, or the larger you make it, the more values will show up in your horizontal axis. Okay. And the next chart, next table. Let's create an Excel pivot table using QV data. And let's just save and close this, save and close, and create a pivot table with QV data. Excel pivot table with QV data. And we'll create a new, and let's go ahead and make the template editor nice and large the workspace. And we'll add chart 184 again. Right. Actually, let's grab another chart that's probably not the best. Let's products, I think it's here. Profit. Just bear with me while I find that specific. I'm looking for a chart with country and year. There we go. Properties. I think we can use that one. Chart 305. Products. Okay. No, can't find it. Let's just use this one. So chart ID 259, and we'll go into the NPrinting developer. Let's drag that in. 259. Oops, 9. Sales by country, year. How many fields do we have? No, that's not going to work. Let's just use chart 184. Looks like we have a new GVW here, so I'm missing some charts that I was expecting. In any case, no worries. We'll just use 184, top 25 products. Let's drag in, let's see, product name, total sales. Actually, if I just quickly add a field here, if we add country, dimensions, I'm just going to add country and promote that, and city. Okay, promote that, and great. Okay, now we have a straight table that'll be a little more interesting to work with. Okay, so we have our expressions. Good, perfect. Click OK. So let's save that off, and we can use that for a report. That'll make for a much more interesting report. Okay, so let's go back into the designer and do an update. And let's just move it, bring it back in, add objects, refresh the list, accept the changes in our chart ID object. I'll just take a minute to refresh all those objects. Okay, so 184 and top 25. And we have our extra values here now. So let's bring in city, country, product name, total sales, and gross profits. In fact, we won't even worry about gross, but we'll just do total sales. So let's drag that in. Go to toolbar, and let's insert. First step is to insert a table, and say my table has headers. Okay. And next thing we do is simply click Summarize with Pivot Table. Accept the defaults at this stage, click OK, and that's it. We can start dropping values. However, before we do that, we need to remove Keep Source Formats over here on the left at the top level where it will not work. One other thing we need to do is go into the pivot table options, go to the Data tab, click the Refresh Data when opening the file, change the number of items to retain per field to Done, and click OK. Let's save the template before we continue. Save it off. So now we can start populating our fields, our row data. So row, country, and just click city and product name, and put the total sales value down over here. We need to change the count to sum. Click OK. And we should just about be ready. Of course, if you want to do the totals and change it from some sort of generic thing, just expand that out a bit. In fact, let's expand all the fields out a bit. Okay. And city, maybe bold, country, bold, grand total, bold. Okay. And we're just about ready, so let's go ahead. Yeah, so now we can go ahead and preview that and save. Sorry, we already saved that. And just go ahead and preview. And here is your QlikView. Here's your Microsoft pivot table with QE data. So it looks like we have some selections in there already, so I just need to remove that. And well, we just have Argentina. Go back into top. And sum of total sales is good. Did we make all the properties? Yes. Let's preview that one more time. Okay. And for some reason, my other rows aren't coming in. So I'll have to fix that before I send this off to you. Let's remove one more thing here. Well, it could be something to do with the property changes I made to the short notice here. So let's just try it one more time. Yeah, so that's okay. I'll fix that for you. But that's the process in making a pivot table with QV data. And again, the tutorials for both this tutorial and the previous tutorial for building a chart are going to be in the slides that you'll be receiving. So no worries, pretty straightforward stuff, and you'll get those to build this type of table correctly. Pivot table with QV data. Save and close, and let's save the entire NSQ here. And let's go in and do a pixel perfect report now. So that will take a little chunk of time here before we go into our before we go into our on-demand demonstration. So let's wrap that up. Let's go into Pixel Perfect. Pixel Perfect, create a new Pixel Perfect report. Let's call this subtotals. And click a new template. Let that build. Increase the work area. You can remove the script editor tool and increase the work area here inside your template as well. Save the template. I always like to do that, as you know. And let's start building our report. So let's go first to click Add Levels. Let's do a category name. And let's nest chart 184 in there as well. Oops. CH184. Okay. So let's grab product name. Of gross profit, total sales, gross profit percent, total sales. Now, if you want to reorder these in any different order, you can do that as well. We're not going to actually drag these in yet because we have a little bit of work to do here on the right. So let's go ahead and begin that. Let's go insert detailed report. Again, we want to create the same hierarchy that we did over on the left field list, top left in the field list. So let's do that. Inside category name, we want to do a chart 184. And before we continue there, what we want to do is create a band, a group header. Let's just remove that. Create it above the detailed report. So create a group header. And that's not building properly. Let's remove that one more time. Just put a group header here. Okay. Let's try that one more time. Well, first of all, okay, so it's tempting me, so I'm going to bring in some data first. So let's bring in the data. And let's bring it in over here. So bring in the data first, left click and hold the selection, and just drag it on to this template. Okay. All right. So now you have some data in there. Insert the band, group header. Right, there we go. Oh, okay. So good idea to add the data first, and then you can wrap the headers around the data. Okay. So let's do a footer around the data. Insert the band, group footer. So you want to have a group header and a group footer directly above and below and aligned correctly below your data. Now we need some headers. So we have our data row here. We want to put a header row in here. Product name, and we'll take all these items here. And this time you want to right click on the selection and drag it into the group header. Remove the white space. And let's start formatting. We want to use Arial. You can use whichever font you like, obviously. And maybe you want to increase the font size a bit. I want to increase the header fonts quite a bit more, and I want to bold them. I also want to center them. Okay, and also I want to provide some fill. Okay. I also want a border. So in this case, I want to say, go over to the properties grid here on the right. Let me expand that out so you can see it a little better. Go to the properties grid on the right. You've selected the entire row. You go into the properties grid and go to the border section. Click the drop down and select all. Click the drop down again to accept the change. If you want the border width to be thicker, you can do that. Click 2. And you can see how the border width has been widened quite a bit. You can do that, or you can leave it. In any case, we'll just keep that. Right? Or you can, it's probably a little thick, so let's maybe go back to 1. Okay, that's probably enough. Okay, let's do a border around the data row. And in this case, we want to do left, bottom, and right borders only because we already have a border underneath the column headers. Click the drop down to accept that change. Okay, so now let's go in and work with the individual cells here, field cells, and let's start doing some formatting. So let's format the string. Over here, you click on the cell, and this little editing tool pops up. So click the arrow after clicking the cell, and just go to Format String. In this case, we're formatting a percent options. So click percent. You can use the standard types or create your own custom type. I'm just going to use standard type over here. And over in top sales, we want to format the string with currency. So select the format string editor and select currency. Again, you can use a standard type or create your own custom format. Click OK. Let's do that one more time over here. Format the string, currency. I'll use the default. And we're actually ready to generate our first report. So let's have a look, see how that looks. In the group header, before we do that, if you want the group header to appear on each consecutive page when the data spills over from one page to another, you simply need to click this group header and say repeat every page. Okay? Otherwise, the group headers will not appear on every page. Okay? So go ahead and click preview. Give that a chance to run. And looks like it's almost done. Yeah, and sure is. Okay, good. So now we have our data. Okay, so we don't have the group, the category names in there, but we know this is by category. So let's go ahead and fix that by dropping the category name field over here. So let's expand that out. And same thing over here. And if this turns red, you have to fix that so that it pushed back inside the borders. Otherwise, it won't print properly. So go ahead and center that. And if you want to use the same formats, maybe you want to make this the category name a little broader and bolder, you can do that. Clear out any white space and go ahead and save the template again and go ahead and preview. I'll take a second to process, and here we are. So now we have baby wear. Baby wear continues on the next page, just because of the way I haven't really done much with the template, so this is the way it's appearing. I didn't expand the page down low enough, so you can do that, and you can get everything on the page typically. But I didn't do really anything with the margin. So anyway, this is what we're getting. But it also demonstrates here that you're getting the product, the column headers on the next page. And I showed you how to set that up by adjusting the group header. Okay, so that's categories, sales by category. But what we want now is totals for each category, and we've done that. Well, all we need to do is I like to save some time. So instead of re-dragging everything down here and reformatting it, I'm not going to drag the total sales and gross profit down here. I'm going to steal the entire row. Just a little tip. We're all into saving time. And then I start deleting the values that I don't want. Okay. Let's put a label over here. And let's put these up. Right. Put a label over here. And you can call this one. Double click inside to start typing. Sales by category. Right. And you can put borders around that. Not going to get too fancy with the borders here. And if you want a reports total, you want to insert a band with the report footer here, and copy these two items again. Control C. I'm going to do Control D, and I'll just paste this over here. And we're not done at all yet. Getting to the denouement here. Okay, so let's copy this text box, paste it down here, and type it in it again, totals, and we can call this one total sales. Okay, and we're not going to do anything fancy with the formatting on that. Now, the key point of this is that you need to go into the group footer and adjust the summing for each field value here. So in here in the summary field, we go in to click on the cell, we do the we click on the editor, go into the summary field here. See how it says summary none? We want to click on that, and we want to do a group summary now. We need to actually format the string here at this level. So in this case, we want to do currency, the same way we did it in the main part of the report. Click OK. You have a running summary on group. And we want to do the same thing for the gross profit. Go into the summary, click on group, format the string, and click OK. And click OK again. Now, in the report footer section, what we want to do here is go into the summary again, click summary, and we want to summarize on the entire report now. Format the string, go into currency, click OK, and now you have a summary for the entire report. Same thing with the gross profit, go into the summary, format the string, doing it slightly different order, doesn't matter, and then sum on the report. Simple as that, and we've suddenly created a report with totals and subtotals per category and total sales for the entire. Let's just do a quick format here. Let's do it bold and make that a little larger and change it to Arial, I guess. Okay, good. So we're ready to preview, save the template, and preview. Give that a moment to do its thing. All right, so now we have our totals, we have our subtotals, sales by category. We should have subtotals for every category, right? Sales by category. And at the bottom of the sheet, we should have a total sales value right down here at the bottom. So that's how to do summary by group and summary by total sales for the entire report. All right, and just so you know, you can actually create charts and graphs and that sort of thing, spark lines, gauges, that sort of thing, using these tools as well. Don't have time to show you any of that today. We do have tutorials for spark lines, charts, and so on and so forth. So there are some other things you can do with it using Pixel Perfect. And again, Pixel Perfect is completely independent of Microsoft Office. So if you really like this kind of tool, you can create NPrinting reports with HTML and the Pixel Perfect editor all day without even including Office ones. So I'm going to save and close that for you. Save and close, and we are done creating reports for today. We're going to start our demonstration of on-demand, but I have some slides here I want to show you first. So if we can just go down to the on-demand section. Okay, so on-demand, it's an additional method for distributing reports. Reports can also be generated from the access point. I'm going to be showing you that as well. Capture user selections and send this to the NPrinting service for on-demand execution, and it requires an NPrinting server service to do this. So you must have an NPrinting server in order to execute on-demand reports. Here's some of the requirements. Very important. This requirement is often missed, and we have lots of problems when the requirements aren't followed. So please keep this slide very important. Very straightforward. I'll let you read that at your leisure. And of course, there is the tutorial for configuring on-demand components. So that's all here for you in the slides. It's also on the, you can also access that by going to community.thevivi.com. Of course, all these things will be changing in the future. However, there's no near-term time for that. These links should be, in fact, these links should be good for quite a while until by that time you'll probably be through as experts with all of these types of reports and going forward. So In any case, let's get into the on-demand. Let's get into the on-demand report. And all right, so let's minimize this fella. And no. I'm going to close my NPrinting client as well quickly. And it's chugging a little bit, getting near the end of the day. Sorry about that. All right, I'm going to give it a bit of a shove here. Just bear with me for a moment while I get that managed. Okay, and we're back. All right. Okay, so let's go back into our QBW. And we'll open up sales demo for Ajax. And let's just go out of that quickly and back in. All right. So my computer does know it's near the end. Of course, it's giving me the love that I deserve. So just one moment. Let me just try to bring it back. And sales demo for Ajax. And let's turn on the web view again. And that usually ends. There we have it. That usually does the trick. Okay. So now keep in mind that the QlikView NPrinting components are installed when you install the QlikView server. Now, when you install the QlikView components on the server, you also need to install the QlikView components wherever the QlikView desktop is also installed. So in order to view these components, you need to move the QlikView NPrinting installer to the desktop and run the installer only for the NPrinting components. So I've asked to have a separate installer for download in the future. At the moment, you need to just simply move or have access to move the NPrinting server installation file to the QlikView desktop and only run the portion of the installation that includes the run a custom install, run the installation that only includes the portion of the install that it has the on-demand components. So custom install, run, finish the install. Okay, so simply, all you need to do is make some selections. This is the QlikView desktop right now, and run your report. Click the Run Report button. I don't want to do it from here because I want to actually show you that it's also possible to do in the browser. So let me just open the browser quickly. And we'll go to the access point. Let the access point render. And if we type here, sales, click go, find my sales demo for Ajax application. Click on that. Again, we're now in the access point. So anyone with a QV license or anyone with access to the QV access point with permission to access can run an NPrinting report. There's two types of QlikView NPrinting objects you can run. You can run NPrinting tasks, and you can run NPrinting reports directly. So we make our selections. Let's say we want made the Argentina and Australia selection, and I have a touch screen, so I get that message. And we only want to report for Elvis Presley, Argentina. Let's select two countries, Argentina and Austria. Okay, so, and all we need to do now is just click the Preview Excel report for 25 top products, and you can see the report queue gets populated over here. Watch it run. And if you see interactive services pop up, don't be alarmed. This is a normal message. If you have interactive services enabled, this basically tells you that what's happening in the background. So NPrinting runs as a service in the background. When this pops up on the server, don't be alarmed. This is a normal message. When everything is configured normally and you have everything running properly, you can actually disable this service. Take a second. The first one usually takes a little longer. So let's go ahead and preview that with our selections that we made. And in this case, it's going to download when accessing from Chrome in this case, and there's a report based on our selections. Year 2015, and we selected Argentina and Austria. It's as simple as that. That's how on-demand works. Now, to configure an on-demand report is very straightforward as well. So let's open up our NPrinting. Let's give you a frame of reference here. So open up NPrinting, and we'll open up the QVW. Sorry, we'll open up the NSQ associated with those reports. So we have an on-demand NSQ, and we're looking at, okay, so you see here's some of the reports available to you on the access point through the sales demo for Ajax QVW. So the one we just worked with was top 25 products. Now, it's important to know this very carefully. You have to have the exact report name, the connection name, and the path, and the accurate path to the NSQ, which in this case is C NPrinting training, NPrinting files.nsq. You need to now configure that information inside your report object. So if we right-click on a preview Excel report over here, click the properties, you would, now we're using variables, so it's not super explicit, but just so you know, this is where you would enter the information. I'm using localhost today. Of course, this is all grayed out because we are in the access point, so none of this information can be modified. Over here in report settings, you must expressly put the path to the NPrinting project in this field. Just double-click FX in order to enable, well, let's actually go to the QlikView desktop, and that'll explain, it will be more effective in explaining that. So right-click Properties on the report object here, go to On-Demand Service Connection, and the next item is Report Settings. Double-click the FX to type the exact path to the NSQ, right? So here's the, if we go into NPrinting training files, you can see the path is exactly correct. And here's the NPrinting NSQ file down here, down below. Right, so NPrinting training files, and here's the on-demand NSQ. The file name must also exist there as well. Okay? You need to have, in this case, the report ID should be typed in here. We're using a variable in this case, but if you're not using a variable, you need to actually specifically type the report ID, which is found right over here. The report ID is simply the name of the report. Again, the report ID is simply the name of the report, and that would normally go in here if you're not using variables. So what I normally do is just copy. I like to copy it verbatim simply because you can so easily make a mistake, and paste it into the expression editor. Okay, and cancel. Okay. Next, you need to specify the connection. In this case, the connection name is called Sales Demo. And Sales Demo, you type in the connection name. You retrieve the connection name from here. You can see the connection name is right here inside of the report properties. And then again, I just copy that. And I just paste it right in. And I click OK to accept it. Finally, you have to have an output format. So these are the output formats available. Make sure you're using an output format that's consistent with your report. So for example, in your report, the output formats available to you are XLS, XLSM, HTML, PDF, and TIFF, XPS, and so on and so forth. And I just previewed that, and I didn't need to. In any case, that is how on-demand is configured and set up. And let's minimize that one more time. And my report is running. And so, okay, it's done now. All right, so that's it for setting up on demand. Just in a little quick summary here, the key fields to know about are when you're setting up your object. And let me just show you where you can find those. So anywhere on in the sheet here, you want to right-click on the sheet. To access the object, you go New Sheet Object, click on Extension Objects. Important to show you this as well. And you just drag at least one queue object and one report object. Of course, there's a task object. And you should probably expand this nice and wide and make sure there's lots of room down below as well. So expand to the left and to the right and beneath to make sure there's lots of room for your reports here to show. One last thing, just a quick refresher of the required fields. Required information is localhost. This is populated by default, but if you're working in an enterprise, you want to type the actual name of the server that NPrinting is installed on here, or else it will not work, so keep that in mind as well. Port 9001 must be open on your firewall for NPrinting to work, especially if you're crossing the network and having to access files across the network. Report settings, you absolutely need to have the NPrinting project path, the report ID, the connection ID, and an output format. So those are the required fields for NPrinting, setting up NPrinting on demand. Showing you some of the requirements before setting up on demand, and we showed you how to run an on-demand report, and finally we showed you how to configure on-demand objects. So that's it in a nutshell for our training today. I'm going to start to open the floor to your questions, and I'm just going to close a few things down here. And let's just go on to that next page. Okay, there is a training repository available to you, and again, the link is on the slides which you'll be getting. And so we're into questions now, and let's check out the questions you might have. Okay, can we have it? No, we answered. This is not a question. Would like to know whether the recording session. Yes. So the recordings will be made available via an email link at a later time, later this week or sometime early next week, and also along with the slides and the environment that we configured today. So all of this information will be made available to you through email, like I said, either later this week or sometime early next week. Anyone who signed up for the training today will have access to all that information. So are there any other questions?
Frank, I'm not sure if you handled the one that's immediately above that that recording one, addressing the date subfolder.
Yeah, we actually did earlier.
Okay. Then that was the only other one.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate your time and attention this afternoon. It was a long session and not easy to hang in there. Oh, best practices. Okay, we got a couple more questions. Good stuff. Is it possible we can download? Yes. Training materials will be made available to you. Yes, indeed. Are there any best practices listed out to use in printing? Yeah. So on the support on the Vesubi site, if you go into community.vesubi.com, right, and this is a good opportunity to show you the website. So just type best, okay? And you can see some articles related to best practices here. And just expand that, and there is some information on the site here, which was not only for best practices, but also this site is a great resource for adding your ideas or feature requests. It also has all the tutorials we talked about today, plus a number of other tutorials that we didn't even talk about. So there's a lot of great information on this site. Again, the link is community.mizubi.com, and that site is available to you on the World Wide Web. Any other questions? Okay.
I think that's it for now.
We're done, Kurt. Okay.
I think we are.
I'll leave you to close it off. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right. Great, and thank you, Frank. And ladies and gentlemen, this does conclude your session for today. On behalf of Frank and everyone involved with today's session, I'd like to thank everyone for joining and hope you found it informative. And at this time, you may now disconnect and enjoy the rest of your day.